So the looming student accommodation crisis for the next academic year has been underscored by the organization Undoing Tax Abuse, or OUTA, which attributes the concerns to the sluggish accreditation process of student accommodation by the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. Despite a total of 497,000 beds, OUTA highlights that the NSFAS has only accredited 25,000 beds, raising apprehensions about the potential shortfall. Accommodation providers are required to register their beds with NSFAS, subject to inspection for compliance with the minimum standards and norms established by the Department of Higher Education. OUTA's investigation report further sheds light on what it alleges to be another tender irregularity at NSFAS. To delve deeper into these issues, we now have the spokesperson for Investigations Manager, Rudie, Heyneke. Rudie, good morning. Thank you so much for making time for us. First of all, let's start here. When it comes to the accreditation of these various property owners and also them getting their license to actually give a service to NSFAS students, what are some of the concerns that have been raised and why they haven't received their licenses as yet or clearance?
Good morning, Eldrin. Yes, the accommodation providers, they have to register their properties, or the beds as we call it, on a specific portal that has been developed by NSFAS. That will cost accommodation provider anything about between 100 and 200 rand. And you can imagine, people having 5,000, 10,000 beds, the big developers or the big providers, what will that cost them just to get their beds on that platform? Second, then NSFAS has appointed a panel of accreditation agents, 39 of them, that must go out to these accommodation providers, inspect the properties and make sure that it complies with the standards as you've just mentioned. And then they will issue a certificate, and only then this accommodation or these beds are available for students to rent or to engage with the accommodation providers. Now, as you have said, 400,000 beds are needed. On 4 October, NSFAS reported back to Parliament that only 25,800 beds were accredited. We're a month later now, or 2 months later. I cannot see that they are reaching the targets, and that will create an emergency. And we are very concerned about what is going to happen beginning of the new academic year when students apply for accommodation.
Yeah. So the concern also, of course, that has been raised earlier on this year as well was around the payments to these property companies. And sometimes what also happens is that you have property companies that don't actually meet the minimum norms and standards. However, though, they do get the certificate from NSFAS. Do you know of any corruption related to the allocation of these certificates?
We haven't found any proof of what you've just mentioned, but what I can say is that there are very credible accommodation providers out there. People coming together in associations to make their accommodation available for NSFAS students. And they've also got their own accreditation system that, you cannot be part of this association if you do not comply with the minimum standards and norms. So there are very credible accommodation providers out there, but we have also seen, like you've mentioned in the media, that in areas there are students living in horrible, circumstances, and, that they must study in that circumstances, trying to, get through an academic year.
From your end, what do you think needs to be done to ensure that by the start of the new academic year, the students that have applied for NSFAS and who have successfully applied for NSFAS get their funding right at the beginning of the year, but also that there's clarity around where the accommodation would be so they don't have to scramble around come the new academic year?
Yeah, Aldrin, I think it is very important that the different stakeholders, the universities, the TVET colleges, NSFAS, the minister and the accommodation providers get together as soon as possible. This is a real emergency that is looming. Sort this out, get the, I think it will also assist when NSFAS is saying that we will acknowledge the accreditation done by universities on property. the private accommodation providers. You know, like I've said to you, they
Okay, no, we're not winning with that line to Rudie, but thank you so much for your time. That is Rudie Heyneke, who is OUTA spokesperson's investigation manager.